Welcome back to Gold and Black Live, and a very special guest, a new member of the Purdue Athletic Department family, Purdue University family, Tiffany Grimes, Deputy Athletic Director, joined Purdue all the way back on August 8th. That's got to seem like years ago, Tiffany. I mean, you've been a busy woman. You've been throughout your entire life, but especially, I'm sure, over the last couple months as you integrate into Purdue athletics.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yeah. Well, it's the world of college athletics is certainly ever changing and never a dull moment. And talk about your role as a deputy athletics director, more eternally focused, but your specific responsibilities and what you're looking to bring to Purdue athletics during your tenure.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start by saying about 8 years ago, I had the great fortune of working for Sandy Barber when she was named AD at Penn State. And one of the things that Sandy would always ask the staff is, what is your why? Why are you here? And so I learned very quickly about myself that my why was the people and the relationships, and first and foremost, our student athletes. And so I have the great fortune at Purdue of working with all of the units that are internal, so not front facing, responsible for the areas that I tell people the fans and the public can't see. And those areas primarily are here to develop, support, and improve the experience of our student athletes and our staff. Without the people, we don't really have an athletics department. People make this thing work. So really excited to oversee our strength and conditioning units, sports medicine, nutrition, our business office, and finances, human resources, DEI, amongst other things, and responsible for our football program, women's basketball program, and softball program specifically. Yeah.
A native of Fort Wayne, Indiana. You also obviously went to Purdue University and also had worked in the John Purdue Club. Talk about how what got you interested in Purdue as a young person, and some of your mentors growing up as you had that opportunity to be in West Lafayette and have that experience before you came here.
Absolutely. So my aunt actually attended Purdue, and she passed away about a month before I was born. And they found all of these Purdue items that she had purchased for me. And so we have pictures of me as a baby and as a really, really young little girl in Purdue apparel. So Purdue is always a part of our family's story. I do remember the Rose Bowl. Drew Brees leading that team. And that was one of kind of the great Purdue moments that stuck in my head. And it was immediately prior to my graduation from high school. And so I came down on campus with my mom and my dad, and it just felt like home. So it was kind of the completion of the story. And I'll say, like, this is a full circle moment for me. It has been amazing to be back on campus, and what we have done to support athletics as an institution is first class. My time at the JPC is interesting because I thought at that point in my life, I wanted to be a sports agent. And Eugene Parker was a friend of my parents. They all went to high school together, and I wanted to get an internship with him at his sports management firm. At that time, it was Maximum Sports. And so I know everybody and their mom was trying to get an internship with him, and he said, how do we know that you're serious? So go out and prove that you really want to have a career in sports, and then we'll talk about it. And so I did, came back to school that fall and got an internship with John Purdue Club. And at that time, we worked more events as opposed to the internship experience now. So I was assigned to volleyball and got to watch a lot of great volleyball and work at the same time. And at that point, I said, well, this is a no-brainer. You get to watch sports and actually be at work and eventually get paid to do it. So that's how it all came together.
Yeah, working in the candy store of life, as they call it. And yet that isn't true, because it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, that's for sure. Yeah, when you had that opportunity, and what would be, people look up to you because of your rise in your career. But when you talk to young people that are looking to get into sports at an early age, not maybe as former student athletes, but maybe not, what do you tell them? I mean, what has been the secret maybe of your success and the ability to really do a great rise to a great level at a young age?
Well, thank you for saying young.
Yeah, there you are. You absolutely are young.
I think the first thing that I talk about with younger people who are interested in establishing a career in athletics is honestly to be excellent in the role that you're in now.
Yeah.
To have a service-based heart, a service-based form of leadership, and also anticipation. My former AD, Greg Byrne, would talk about anticipation all the time. And if you can develop the skill of one, building relationships, but also anticipating all the things that could go right, but also all the things that could go wrong in decision making, then you'll have a pretty good track record for your career.
Yeah, great advice, and how true. Even for old guys like me, that's I try to do that. It's a hard skill to have, but an important one. All right, obviously we're having the opportunity to work at the University of Alabama around football and many other duties. But talk about working with Nick Saban, and I know they miss you a lot down there. I've read several articles on that as well. But what did you learn working in that environment? Obviously, Alabama football is as good as it gets in terms of the college football landscape. But what did that teach you, and how did that best prepare you for the opportunity up here?
Well, I think one of the most amazing things about Alabama is that everybody is pulling in the same direction. And so, from university administration to athletics administration to the coaches to the staff, everyone has the same goals in mind. And essentially that's providing a top-notch holistic experience for the student athletes and transitioning from excellence to eliteness in their competitive aspects.
Yeah.
And so I think, one, having a uniform goal across the board was helpful because it was the North Star, if you will. But at the same time, I think one of the great things about Alabama football is the process itself.
Yeah.
And so, oftentimes people tune in and they see the score at the end of the game and they see the confetti rain down, but it's all the work that goes on behind the scenes. It's the process of making sure that the student athletes are being supported holistically, mind, body, spirit, soul. And it's the attention to detail, doing every small thing the right way every single time when people are watching and when they aren't watching. It's the purpose of working so hard and practicing so hard and knowing your job to such a great detail that when the lights turn on, you can't mess up. But it's all that work that goes on behind the scenes that I think makes the ability to celebrate big wins even more special because you understand what you did to get there.
Yeah, well said. All right, so how is Nick Saban? What's he really like? How is he like to be in the room with a guy like that? Obviously has a extremely accomplished individual with a great program, but what's he like to be around?
Absolutely amazing. I would say somebody who always provided me with such a high level of respect and kindness and care. But, Coach Saban is one of the great leaders of our time. Take coaching out of it. He's a phenomenal leader. And so to spend 6 years to have interaction with one of the best leaders of our time, for me was professional development every day.
Yeah. Well said. All right, Jeff Brom and company, you're in the middle of a football season, huge game this weekend against Maryland. Talk about some of his style. And again, you're 2 months in to being around that program, but how has that relationship developed with his staff and his program? And what qualities do you find in him that make him as good at what he does?
Well, obviously, being at Alabama for the last 6 years, everyone there will tell you that I've always been a proud Boilermaker. And
that's
very
what I understand.
Unapologetic about that. So even though I was working there, I was always following Purdue athletics. And so I've been watching kind of Coach Brom build and build and build, watching how we're recruiting, watching how we are utilizing the transfer portal in a really positive way. But actually having the opportunity to sit down and meet with him probably about a month before I started, that was our first real conversation. And, he's phenomenal. He has a vision, he has a process. He's sticking with his process. He's very methodical in terms of X's and O's. I mean, clearly he's basically a savant. He knows exactly what he's doing. What I think that we see in college football now is this expectation of instant gratification. You have to win today. Well, and don't get me wrong, I like to win. But I think that we need to focus on what it takes to climb the mountain and then what it takes to become the mountain. And once you really focus on those things and kind of clear out the outside noise, it may take a little bit longer, but it will happen. It will happen. I love the way that Coach and his staff, the camaraderie of the staff is phenomenal. The way they care about these young men is phenomenal. And so it's not just about a game, it's about, life after the game as well.
All right. When you were a younger person and going to school here, but also with John Purdue Club, et cetera, no one could have imagined the world of, I don't think, of name, image, and likeness. You talked about transfer portal. Name, image, and likeness was a part of your role at Alabama, but talk about it's a challenge, and it's the way things are and the way things maybe should be. But what have been the specific things that the department's been really trying to get done in that arena? I know that your colleague Ken Halpin's been involved with that as well, but it's a big process.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I'll say about Purdue is, our student athletes are very vocal about what they want their experience to be. And so the first thing as a department that we needed to do was to listen to them and hear what their expectations and their wants were. I think our student body is also unique in that academics is a very, very high priority. And some of them have incredibly difficult majors that they are participating in. And so the time that they are willing to dedicate to one more thing is just not present across the board. So it's the balance of making sure that we have systems and resources in place to educate on NIL. Peyton Stovall, who oversees our student athlete enhancement unit, and then Tom Mitchell, who oversees our compliance office, are two individuals that are absolutely in the trenches in terms of educating the student athletes. The hire of Jack Gallagher as our director of NIL initiatives via Aspire. He's been simply amazing. And so he has gone out to try to look at opportunities for student athletes, one such being Campus Inc. that launched last week. So, fans, family, friends can purchase items, and then a portion of the purchase goes to the student athlete directly. And with about a week of being in action there, we've had really, really good success. But I also think too, there's a narrative that NIL is the most important thing going on, when in all actuality, I think you're seeing some across the board, at least internally, where student athletes may not be that excited about NIL. We are very fortunate at Purdue to resource our sports very well and to resource the support services of our sports very well. So the needs of our student athletes are really taken care of via their experience at Purdue and being a member of a Purdue athletics program. NIL is just kind of the icing on the cake, and something that they want to be passive income first and foremost. And then secondarily to that, if they're going to actually take on a job, something that they can do in the summertime or during their breaks. What I'll also say is I think for a lot of our student athletes, specifically in our Olympic sports, NIL gave them the flexibility and the freedom to return home in the summer and conduct camps and clinics and actually put their name and their face on the flyer, which is something that the rules restricted them from doing previously. So I know that the media likes to talk about the multi-million-dollar deals, but NIL at its core is really just freeing up student athletes to be able to give lessons and to teach camps and things of that sort without penalty from the NCAA.
All right, last question. All of this is about being, and I'm always interested in management style and how people make decisions. Managing change. When you look at this, I mean, that's what you do. You have to manage change because that is the new normal, as they always say. Philosophy on that. I mean, how do you when you wake up and you say you never for sure what's going to happen each day? You have a pretty good idea, but something's going to change. Something's going to be thrown at you. When you talk to young people or colleagues or mentor folks, what do you tell them about the key to managing change? Because it's a huge part of what you do.
It absolutely is, and I think all of us lived through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that was a crash course and a TED Talk all wrapped in one about change and having to navigate the unexpected. And so what I would encourage young people to do is to kind of channel how they navigated, how they had to adjust and adapt during that time and apply that to management, apply that to work. I also think one of the best skill sets that a person can come to the table with is the ability to be solution oriented. And, kind of growing up in the compliance world,
yeah.
I always knew that if the answer was going to be no to a coach's question, it was always helpful to come in with 3 options that may kind of get us there in a different way. And so exercising one's brain power to learn how to be solution-based and come up with different options that get you to the same final destination, but maybe just a little bit of a longer route has been one area that I have leaned into when it comes to managing change. But if we could make it through 2020, as long as we band together, we can pretty much make it through anything.
Well, your excellent personality skills, that law degree, and that ability to analyze and put things together, you were well suited. So, hey, it's been so great for you to take the time. You're a busy woman and have a lot to do on your calendar, and taking your time with us today. I always want to do interviews where I learn something. I learned something from you, and thanks so much for your time. Okay, we will be back for the next segment of Gold and Black Live. We'll be joined by our staff talking Purdue, Maryland. I know that Tiffany guarantees a 2-touchdown win. No, that's not true, but she knows that her team will play competitively on Saturday around noontime. But Tom Dienhart and Brian Newbert will analyze that and look forward to doing so as Purdue takes on Maryland at noon on Saturday. Tiffany, thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.